Wow, it's time for another show full of tips and ideas from the sales growth leadership expert, Dean Akers. Known for his experience in hyper-growing companies and creating cultures for high-performance teams, here's Dean.
Well, welcome to your Sales and Leadership Ninja Show. I'm your head ninja, Dean Akers, and every week I bring you a rant to stimulate your thinking in either the realm of sales and or leadership. Today's show is one that really is coming to be because of so many conversations I've had helping companies this last 6 months, and I thought it was appropriate today to kind of get it up on the table. And I've had a number of successes by developing this whole strategy around this and understanding of it that I thought I'd share it with you, all my listeners, in hopes that it will too help you. Today's show, the real pandemic. So we're faced always with new shifts and opportunities. This is what happened this past year with the COVID pandemic. It's caused everyone in every business to reassess what they're doing. People in offices are now doing remote, and now they found that, hey, we can be productive remote. Will we ever go back to offices, the traditional drive-in, go to the cubicle, work there? Who knows? But what we've found is we can be successful. We're finding all kinds of other opportunities that the pandemic has created. So these have become very defining times for many of us. And in these defining times, it's really incumbent on us to really reach out and try to understand where the real pandemic may lie. And today I want to share with you a concept of the real pandemic. And I think this is the real pandemic. And I think this pandemic has been coming. I think the COVID pandemic we've been in the middle of has brought this to the surface. And I think when we reflect back on this, many of us years from now, we'll find that our understanding of this and how it impacted us and how we moved and really understand the true pandemic, that we were able to become more successful on the backside of it. So I would challenge you and every one of my listeners today to what the real pandemic is and what it's all about. I believe the true pandemic is noise and all that it brings. No doubt there's a lot of people dying of the coronavirus. If you look at the deaths in the U.S. are up around 300,000. They're not up by the full amount of the COVID deaths, and that may be some orders of how the deaths are classified. Honestly, doesn't matter. They're up considerably. They're up over 3 million. They're up by almost 10 full percentage points to what they run. Still less than 1% death rate for where we've been for years. So what does this mean? We still have population growth. There's 331 million people in the U.S. today. The death rate is always around 1% where it's been for years. So if all these facts are facts, which they are, then where do I come off calling today's show the real pandemic? Well, here's the real pandemic again. The real pandemic is the noise around you that you're consuming. Yeah, the pandemic is the noise around you that you're consuming. With all this noise, it's creating a phenomenon that I like to call deer in the headlights. I don't know if any of y'all have ever driven on a country road at night, and when a deer spots your headlights, they just freeze up. You could run them over, you could walk up, push them over, you can do anything. The headlights cause them to freeze. This real pandemic of noise around today is really causing a deer in the headlight phenomena for 99% of us out there. And I see it every day. And this noise is very real. It's very real. And our source for noise is infinitely greater today than just 10 years ago, and certainly way more than 20 years ago. I mean, 20 years ago, there were still a lot of people had regular TV, what I call over air. Now it's 90% of all the people that watch TV is digitally transmitted, either cable, a satellite, or some other way. social media has grown in the early 2000s to 80% market share in markets today in the US. Anybody with a smartphone today has social media, and that noise is going on. And that noise is pretty large compared to, think about it, in the year 2000, you literally didn't have Facebook, LinkedIn, all those different processes, and you for sure didn't have a phone or a device that you could easily look it up on. So what does this mean? It's adding up to tons of noise. Now, that being said, it doesn't make it bad. That being said, it doesn't necessarily make it bad. If you look backwards and you reflect on the years of less noise, you could make, at my age, I look back at less noise. And, when I was growing up, there were 2.5 TV stations in the Tampa Bay market. We listened to AM radio. FM radio was almost non-existent. And, there just certainly was no social media. Well, there wasn't the internet. So there was really little noise. Now, this noise today creates opportunities, no question. But it also creates anxiety, and it also creates a kind of a pandemic effect on people's self-talk. So it's like anything in your life. If you overindulge, you become addicted or reliant on it. It could be food, alcohol, friendship, everything that defines us. And so when you look at noise can get to a point where you've overindulged in it, and it then not is so much your friend. So how and what we talk about today is in context of its own pandemic. So the current pandemic has really brought us to surface many weaknesses we have. If we look in the mirror and assess how many of our outsized noise is really impacting us. So what I mean is, if we look at it, we say, okay, the posts on social media, how did they impact what I did or could do today? If we look at the noise of the TV, how did what happened with the election stuff really impact what I can do in my little microcosm today? What we find is when we really look and assess how many of these outsized noise really impact us, we find out that we're generally the problem. It's not the external things that are impacting us. It's the noise in our head that's causing us to freeze up like a deer in the headlight, and we're just not getting things done. So this noise really does impact lots of you on this show or listen to this show and businesses. The question to you today is, if it's impacting you, then I want you to get a cure for this pandemic. And here's what I would recommend for your cure for this noise pandemic. Take a sheet of paper out. Give a sheet of paper to your spouse, your friends, even your kids if they're of age to write, and write down everything that impacts your family directly. Your current health, financial, your social side, anything that impacts today, the weather, anything that could be impacting, taking care of a loved one, whatever it is. Write those things down. Be very specific when you write them down. Don't write vagueness like I want to be healthier. Write down that I've got blood pressure issues or whatever. And then rate the level of true impact, with 10 as a major impact and 1 is not really too much. After you do that, stack rank them, with the 10 being the most important. When I've done this exercise in the past, I found that you start eliminating a lot of noise when you take and you assess those big items in your life, and you see the ones that really impact, and you look at the other things that really don't make up much. Make a model of these things that happen to impact your life and what you can do to be a success. If you've got health issues and you know your diet's an issue, that has nothing to do with who was president. That has nothing to do with the insurgents on the Capitol. It doesn't have anything to do with much of anything other than what you're putting in your mouth. So you need to make a model of all these different things in the 10 on down, and then make the model of what you can do to create the successes of it. It might be read a book 10 minutes a day. It might be turn the TV off and bring the family together to sit outside on the porch and talk about what went right in their world that day. It could be a lot of things, but I would challenge you to do that. And then work on building back the folks in business around you, the people that are relying on you, the things you can do and touch and make an impact on. Make sure you're doing everything you can to make people around you's experience epic. If it's customers, write them a handwritten note, call them up, thank them, look at who they can refer to you. I did this the other day. Somebody was talking about customers. We did an analysis and we found they had 200 people they knew. When we started talking about who they had touched in a while and what the probabilities of their business would be from those 200, it was enormous. But guess what they hadn't done? They had let all the self-talk get all the noise going, and they had not reached out to any of these 200 just to say hello. And now they're reaching out to say hello, thinking about you, what's going on. And out of this, several transactions have happened. This has always worked for me. And so I know it does work. It's not a theory. So this current pandemic of noise, it is the biggest pandemic. And I would suggest it's probably been a pandemic for a long time. It's just coming out more with the COVID pandemic, creating more noise yet. So today's vaccine for the pandemic is eliminate your self-talk. Assess those things within your control. Shut down the noise and do what you know that's within your capacity to do, and do it. When you get this done, you have vaccinated yourself for this more impactful pandemic, the pandemic of noise. So if today helped you, just reach out to me, or you need more help or want to brainstorm on this at dean@deanakers.com, and my team will help you to come up with thoughts on your own pandemic cure. This will definitely help you. So get the noise vaccine today. And the true noise vaccine today, candidly, is my book, Self-Talk, Think Like a Child, available on Amazon. Order your vaccine today, your noise vaccine. Read it. It's an easy read. And then remember to tune in every week. And thanks for everybody that keeps reaching out. Thank you for the reviews. Thank you for all the reinforcement you give me to do this each week. And I hope more than ever that you'll get the vaccine and get the noise out of your head. Have a great week.
We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Subscribe today to our podcast and send questions or thoughts to help@deanakers.com. Also, visit us at www.deanakers.com to listen to prior shows and view helpful videos. Also, great tips to download. Thanks again. See you next week.